What is up to the transparency? Welcome. Happy Thursday. It's a great day. Yeah. Well, another installment of the Idaho4 case. Judge Hippler, he's got two new documents, two new orders. There is some movement. The case is being pushed back, and jury selection will begin August 4th, with the trial starting the 18th of August. So instead of July 30th, it's going to be August 4th. In case you guys didn't know. In case you guys did not know. Yeah. Okay. Boy. Well, Ann Taylor named 4 suspects, alternate perpetrators. We're going to talk about that. So she identified 4 individuals as potential alternate perpetrators. Yeah. My theory on this is wild. All right. This is redacted. Now think about this. You have to take Hippler with a grain of sweaty ball sack. Okay. The reason why is because we saw how his perspective was with the Ridge Road camera, and that wasn't the camera that the FBI relied upon to identify this car. And it's like, what the hell are you talking about? We provided you with all this shit, and this is what you took from it. It's exactly what the FBI relied upon to identify that car. Okay. Remember, Brian was most certainly identified by WSU in part. Okay. So again, he was wrong. He's wrong. And so his view of the evidence of this closed hearing, as well as the motion that was sealed, I hate reading stuff that he wants to author and I don't get to read what it's about, like what his opinion is on the material that Ann Taylor's material is sealed. It's really kind of annoying. So things like this. Allegedly, supposedly, the defendant conceded at the oral argument hearing that we didn't get to hear that at this point, his proffer is not sufficient to pursue an alternate perpetrator theory. I highly doubt that Ann Taylor said, Your Honor, I would like to concede and say that, and use the word conceded. We concede. Why the hell would Ann Taylor ever oral argue or submit paperwork if she knew that it wasn't suffice? So Hippler over here is saying that Ann Taylor and her team conceded at oral arguments that at this point, the defendant's proffer is not sufficient to pursue an alternate perpetrator theory at the outset of trial, but requests latitude in cross-examination. Well, I could see Ann Taylor saying, after you just denied me this, that I'm asking for wide latitude to be able to cross-examine because the police didn't do their job is now making it impossible for me to have an alternate perpetrator. And that's kind of what I see. But let me show you something else. So here she names 4, okay? And I'm going to tell you what was going through my brain is that Dylan and Bethany have to be 2 out of these 4 people. Okay. Like, how is Dylan and Bethany not 2 out of these 4 people? And the reason I say that is because Unless you're going the angle that the police were the ones that just totally like fucked Dylan and Bethany's interviews and you weren't understanding what they were saying and, you know, yada, 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 like, you know, how. Remember what Ann Taylor said? She's like, yeah, if you believe that theory, when she, in talking about the defendants, or not the defendants, but the girls texting and the time frame of that, and that, okay. And she's like, yeah, if you believe that narrative, if you're believing that narrative. And so I find it hard to believe that Ann Taylor's arguing that Dylan and Bethany are sus as fuck, deleting shit, okay, questioning where they're located. Then they just don't bother to, you know, they see a masked man, but then there's all these doors right here just to leave, and they don't. And that somehow these girls are just not, maybe the word you want to say involved, but that they know things that they're not saying, or why when they woke up in the morning do they not go and just like a regular day just go upstairs? Dylan would just go in her bedroom and, you know, mosey on around, then go to the kitchen, grab some, you know, bite to eat, and all the while seeing how like just dead quiet it is in there. So I want to point out why I was just like, okay, I'm reading this. Now remember, you have to remember this is Hippler's words. So he's letting the defense know that, however, this does not foreclose the defense from cross-examining law enforcement regarding the reasonableness of its investigation and its follow-up on plausible leads. Okay. Hold on. Meister sets the tone for this. So here we go. Okay, let me make this bigger. Right here at the bottom. Here, the evidence defendant has offered purporting to establish the 4 individuals as alternate perpetrators abjectly fails to meet the Meister standard. In addition, the evidence largely consists of inadmissible hearsay. Defendant contends, however, that under Chambers versus Mississippi, hearsay tending to establish third-party culpability may be admissible. Hippler then goes on to say, namely, the evidence is entirely, he uses the word entire, namely, the evidence is entirely irrelevant. Because I'm over here and I tried to figure out for the past couple hours who I think the 4 people could be. And I wanted to start eliminating people that, okay, there's no way they could be talking about this person or that person. So he's saying that whatever Ann offered was entirely motherfucking irrelevant. Like, damn. Nothing links. Keyword is links. These individuals to the homicides, not to the crime scene, but to the homicides. Okay, so I underlined that word because I thought, you know, he's picking his words, you know, wisely. So there would be a difference to saying does not link these individuals to the crime scene versus these individuals to the homicides. Okay. So does not links these individuals to the homicides, or otherwise gives rise to a reasonable inference that they committed the crime. Indeed, it would take nothing short of rank speculation by the jury to make such a finding. 3 of these individuals were each socially connected to one or more of the victims. They don't like, now when he's saying the word victims, is he considering Bethany and Dylan a victim here? Because they are victims of the burglary. Or is he just referring to the 4? So I don't know. But 3 of these individuals were socially connected to one or more of the victims, interacted with one or more of the victims at social events is plural, in the hours prior to the homicide. And now I start thinking about Ethan, like hours. So like, guys, they went to a football game. They were tailgating. They were at, think of all the things that these kids did that day. Okay. Now, then there's all of these footnotes are redacted. Okay. So we're going to come back. But I about fell over in my chair when I had to read this part. Okay. Which is, it ended by saying, in the hours prior to the homicide, then comma. Then the next thing is they lived, so comma, then lived within walking distance of the crime scene. Okay. So then I said, why didn't he write lived within walking distance of, so he says, of the crime scene. So then I went down here to 3. Okay. And 3 is available. And now this is Hippler. The fact that the 3 individuals lived within walking distance to the crime scene. So think about this. Would that consist of Bethany and Dylan? If technically, are you being so technical to say that the crime scene would be upstairs on the 3rd floor? Because then like you would walk to it if you're in the bottom level. If you're on the 2nd level, I mean, are you talking about the bedrooms, specifically to that area? So could that still include Bethany and Dylan? Okay. And I think the way that Hitler's mind works is like, yeah, I could still leave them in. Okay. Hang on. But, so he says, their walking distance of crime scene is not probative evidence given that the perpetrator, so this should tell everybody, hold on, I cannot believe this. It's the state's theory that the perpetrator drove there. Okay. That's the state's theory. That is the state's theory. But here he is saying that because these people, look at this. The perpetrator drove a vehicle to the crime scene. That's the state's theory. Clearly, I think Ann Taylor's going with the concept that the killers did not drive. Okay. Further, none of these individuals drove a vehicle matching the description of the suspected killers. Are you fucking kidding me? I don't think that that's going to hold up. I think that that's, I don't think that that's strong. I think that that's weak. Okay. So then moving on here. Okay. Going back to this. Okay. So lived with a walking distance of the crime scene and were familiar with the layout of the victim's home from prior social events. So this is where I'm starting to feel that, okay, are we shying away from these 4 people being one of 2 of them being Bethany and Dylan? Because here it goes. While perhaps this evidence could suggest an opportunity to commit the crime, ready for this, which no doubt is an opportunity shared by dozens of others. because based upon where people live in that area, that like you had the opportunity. That were in the victim's social circles. Okay, so it suggests the opportunity to commit the crime, which no doubt is an opportunity shared by dozens of others in the victim's social circles. There is no compelling evidence that any of them had a motive. I'm over here like, what the fuck motive does Brian have? What the fuck are you talking about? I think Ann Taylor's like, this kid, if you want to talk about motive and you want somebody that is comparable to Brian, which I think she's leading into, but you need motive isn't a part of the elements of the crime. Who gives a fuck about that? Why are you even saying anything about motive? That any of them had a motive to kill the victims, much less physically harm them, or a means to do so. And I said, wait a second, a means to do so? How are you referring to the word means? Like, what, a knife? What do you mean means? What, they're not strong enough? Means? I was like, I don't like that word. Or a means to do so, like it's a knife. Like they weren't shot by some fucking like ARs that nobody has. Further, there is no evidence connecting them to the crime scene. Now, I said, okay, could Bethany and Dylan still be in the mix of four? These four people, they have cooperated with law enforcement. Okay, still can be Dylan and Bethany. Provided DNA samples, yep. Fingerprints, sure. And allowing searches as requested. These four people have. Notably, lab testing has excluded their DNA from samples taken from the crime scene and victims. Okay. But my question would then remain is if there was mixed samples and if they didn't do anything to like separate them, or did they not, compare to see if they could be a contributor to the mix? I'm curious on that. But that would be, everything would hold true to Brian, except when you get to this allegedly placed sheath, right? But as far as like his DNA is not on any of the victims, and his blood isn't there. So the fourth individual, now here we go. The fourth individual did not know the victims. So I said, okay, now who could possibly be the fourth person, okay, that would have ever been in a group with the three others? And how does this fourth person, technically, according to Hitler again, yes, that's who I'm thinking right now. I'm thinking Quinn, and I'm going to tell you why. But we'll just hang on for a tight little second here. This fourth victim that did not know the victims. I'm thinking like, what do you mean did not know the victims? Like, that's a very vague word, like know me. Like, I know of them. What do you mean know me? Like, but had a passing connection, in quotes, to one of the victims, to one of them, while noticing her shopping at a store approximately 5 weeks prior to the homicides. He followed her briefly out the exit of the store while considering approaching her to talk. He turned away before ever speaking to her. So think about how I envision this. If I know, okay, if I'm dating somebody and I don't know who their friends are, but I know, like, I've seen pictures of them, or like I know of them, but I don't know them, and they don't know me. But like, if I was to see somebody, if I was like at the mall or at the grocery store or wherever, Oh my God, I think that's fucking Dylan's fucking roommate. You know, I don't know. Is it? I don't know. Or, oh, I think that, and then you're about to like, what? Go up to them and, hey, are you so and so? Okay, I'm da da da. Okay, I thought that was you. I just remember you from, uh, you know, all the pictures or something like that. Um, but I started thinking, how the fuck does this even how does this even come up in conversation that it would have been had with a police officer, okay? To to the fact that a police officer would even ever know about this strange person in a surveillance store, like a camera from a surveillance store from 5 weeks prior to um like who would have turned over and been like, here, blah blah blah. I, that's just weird to me. Anyways, um but these 4 people, um we get to this part, which is the event was captured on a surveillance camera. This individual subsequently cooperated with law enforcement, providing his phone number and DNA sample. Now, why would you stay on a path of this person? You'd have to be talking to your, I don't know, investigators. And it's like, hey, we're looking through all this discovery and what are you finding out? Well, I think so and so fucking lied because I went ahead and mapped out all of these victims' cell phones over the course of the past 6 months. And this person, this guy right here, let's say, his phone is literally, I put it in and did his pattern for 6 months, and it's literally everywhere that these girls are, but yet he doesn't know them. That's the type of, if I'm relying on my investigators and what they're good at, and if you're trying to see something that doesn't fit or somebody that's, because if you're receiving this discovery and you see that here's all the people that we talked to that turned over their phone numbers, that gave their phones, or they gave their DNA and blah blah blah. Ann Taylor and her team clearly stayed course of whatever they were doing and however they were going about conducting their own investigation, and these are the 4 that they went with. It isn't until I get to right here, let me make this bigger, that here it is. Okay. Defendant has provided. So collectively, the defendant's proffer with regard to these 4 individuals fails to give rise to even an inference that they committed the crimes or otherwise make it more or less likely that the defendant was the perpetrator. Therefore, it is irrelevant under IRE 401. The defendant has provided no probative, admissible, significant evidence of motive. Okay. Motive, right? Ill feelings means, and then right here, presence at the scene or any other connection to the crime that could possibly move the ball to the extent it supports an alternate perpetrator theory. And so I said to myself, okay, so does this completely wipe out Dylan and Bethany, or is Hitler just being a complete moron like how he has in the past? And Ann Taylor and them are looking like, wait a second, 2 of those people that we're talking about live in that house. What do you mean that there's no presence at the scene? Like, so that's where I'm tossed with, okay, is Hitler just, doing what he does here? Or is Ann Taylor and her team, did they really not say that the roommates were involved in some capacity? So I want to know your guys' thoughts, because that's the part right there that really highly suggests when Hitler's saying that the defendant has provided no probative, admissible, significant evidence of motive, ill feelings, means, which, I mean, are you kidding me though? Like, evidence of motive. Motive. Ill feelings, means, and then right there, presence at the scene, or any other connection to the crime that could possibly move the ball to the extent it supports an alternate perpetrator. So I don't understand, why do they, so Ann Taylor has to prove motive. Ann Taylor has to provide motive, but the state doesn't with Brian. Like, that makes no sense. Ill feelings, but yet Brian doesn't have that. Means, and remember what means for Hitler is. The means for Hitler is the car. You understand that? Hitler's means is that you have to find a white car. Somebody with a white car. And how do I know that? That's what he means? Because I just read the document. Because he says it in the fucking footer. The means is you have to find somebody with a white car. Because right here, the fact that these individuals lived within walking distance to the crime scene is not probative, given that the perpetrator drove a vehicle to the crime scene. Further, none of these individuals drove a vehicle matching the description of the suspected killers. Are you fucking kidding me right now? Do you know how dumb that sounds? That, wait a second, based on the police's theory, I have to have an alternate perpetrator theory. So think about John O'Keefe. I need to go find somebody that was in the area with a vehicle and that could have rammed him instead of Karen? Or do I just find somebody that could have committed the crimes? They were in the area, they walked there, they didn't drive. Like, what the fuck? But that's that level of just like, I'm not understanding. There is no probative connection between the crime and any car. What's up, my girl over here? Let me go back to that one. Hello, what's good, girl? Hey, Lana, is there anything there to stop Anne bringing in the other DNA? She'd have to do that all through experts. As far as like if they were to test stuff, is that what you mean? She can talk about the fact that whatever they tested, and if they didn't test certain things, like, why didn't you test? So you have like this hoodie, for example, that was a big thing at Delphi. It's like, what were you testing? They had so many mixed samples that had like 5 and 6 person at the crime scene. It was nuts. But yeah. Oh, yeah. So as far as, I think that's the only thing that he's saying, that the DNA doesn't match. I mean, he's also speaking for the state's case. So I have no idea when they're saying, I mean, one can only assume that you got these people's DNA. Well, what did you test them against? I don't know. I mean, if you didn't have a profile of the blood yet, and you didn't even bother testing that against these people, maybe that's why Anne's like, what are you talking about? Like, all that didn't match was the sheath. You get what I'm trying to say? Like, that profile didn't match the sheath, because this other stuff was never tested against it. So that's my thing. That I think that's why Ann Taylor is saying things like that. They want independent testing and review and blah blah blah. I mean, Hitler basically took his dick out and slapped Ann Taylor with it, with his two little orders here, but agreed that the way that he plans on conducting Vidar is yeah, he needs to give more time to that. And I'm over here just like, he also says that the FBI is probably the leak and that they have no jurisdiction if they're the leak. And it's like, no shit, they're the leak. Fucking Steve Gonsalves came out here and said that the FBI told him, hello, we're the FBI. Do you think we're going to let him go on a technicality? Come on, man. So just like reading these motions, I was just like, these orders rather. I know, are you dying because I said Hitler whipped Ann Taylor across the face with his dick? That would make me roll. So, but honestly, he should be saying things like, if you're going to look at which we haven't even got to that yet, but it's on the last page when he mentions and he says, like, it just, I read his stuff, like reading his stuff, like I don't even look forward to it anymore. Like Judge's, I looked forward to reading Judge's orders because I could expect a written piece that was not written so biasly against one side or the other. Like Judge wasn't taking slams at people. Okay. Judge Hitler has taken fucking slams at people. And he's been doing that since the moment that he's got this case. He says in his closing remarks about the fucking about the investigation. He says, as noted, a continuance is not warranted where the information sought thereby is mere speculation. Defendant's Brady argument is built on a house of speculative assumptions. An assumption that there was a leak by persons bound by the non-dissemination order. What are you fucking talking about, boy? You put that shit out there. You came out there and said that there was a leak. And in fact, you said that it was actually the prosecution or the police, law enforcement. And then you had to like, oh, I got to add, that it could have been the defense as well. So here he says that it's just basically, hey, your defendant's Brady argument is built on a house of speculative assumptions. An assumption that there was a leak by persons bound by the non-dissemination order, one. An assumption that the leak or leakers will be found. Two, an assumption that the leaker or leakers were law enforcement. Three, an assumption that the leaker or leakers or others who were complicit will be testifying as a government witness, and an assumption that these witnesses will likely be material. Such assumptions are not grounds for continuance, particularly given that there is no guarantee if and when they will be confirmed or debunked. This trial cannot be held hostage indefinitely to the outcome of the investigation, particularly given the very significant chance the leaker or leakers may never be discovered. Wow. Do you want to know what this is setting precedent for? You guys, do whatever the fuck you want if you're the FBI. Do whatever you want if you're law enforcement, because there's no accountability. What the fuck's that mean? Accountability doesn't mean anything. What, is that even a word anymore? So like reading this shit as somebody that like believes in our rights, fuck this man. That's insanity to write that shit. Okay, your life's on the line, but none of this matters. We may never be able to figure it out. Well, you're not in charge of it. So why don't you go ask the person that's in charge of the investigation? And now there is going to be a closed hearing from, I think, July 28th to August 1st. But I have no idea what it's about, nor do I give a fuck. I'll be my own judge and jury. I'll take a look at the evidence as it comes out in this trial. I'll see what calls Hitler made and what he didn't make, just like I did in the Karen Reed case, to see how fucked Karen Reed got. Thank God that her lawyers were still able to overcome that shit. But at the end of the day, we can all be our own judge and jury if there was, in fact, due process. You're sounding a little frustrated here. I don't know. This is just, I read the papers. Hitler's orders is basically saying that he's accusing Ann Taylor that this is a tactical stall and that it's not good gamesmanship and blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, I excuse me? Okay. Well, I would agree with Hitler on the mitigating stuff. I would agree on Hitler. I mean, the continuation for 1 week. Are you kidding me? Like, why are you even continuing it? Why aren't you just starting on June 30th or July 30th? He's literally starting on August 4th instead of July 30th, which, because I believe that anybody that has a brain is probably saying to him, why are we not running the Vidar all the way up until when we would start trial? Like, why could there be potentially like a break of a week? That doesn't make any sense. And why wouldn't anything be just tentative on, like, we have to seat a sound jury due to this leak? Okay, if you're not going to continue the case, that's fine, whatever, because shit's just going to keep on happening. It doesn't fucking matter. But I would just be more just about, like, I'm not going to be rushed through the Vidar, and that's all I would care about. And Ann Taylor's doing her job by saying, or you can just take the death penalty off the table. And so, but he doesn't make any kind of statements to allude to the fact that it's more just like that you're using something as a sword, and I think that that's ridiculous. A sword and a shield, and I'm like, okay, well, it's all about the evidence. It's all about the jury. And I have no idea who these 4 people are. No idea who these 4 people are. No idea who these 4 people are. And but Hitler felt the need to redact the fuck out of it. I don't. The other thing I think is crazy is, why do you have to redact anything? Why can't you just redact the names? But why wouldn't you still be able to say any and all of this crap? It doesn't make sense. Like, I will die if Ann Taylor says that Enan Harsh is one of the perpetrators. I mean, absolutely die. But what's with all these? What do you need to do all this shit for? Like this? Just, you're saying that you don't think the need to redact any of Brian's medical information or whatever the fuck's going on in his world. Okay, well, why are we redacting this? How about this? What the fuck? Just scratch out some names. This tells me that whatever's written in here, why are we redacting it? It doesn't make any sense. It makes no sense that you're redacting, unless what Ann Taylor is claiming would in and of itself reveal who basically the group that she's pointing the finger at. And you got three groups, guys. You got the fraternities, you got the cops, and you got fucking what? The drug little world. Those are the three things. I think if this was over some peons, all this redaction wouldn't be here. So, who are they protecting? Probably the university. Probably the university. Yeah, Hitler looks like I gotta fucking be here today. I mean, I'll tell you what, man. Note to self: you would never want a bench trial with this bastard. This is what the state has. Yep, sounds great to me. You're not a fucking presumed innocent, bitch. You better go find somebody that drives the same car as you. You better go figure this out. And I'm just like, whoa, hey. So, I mean, thank God that the jury, I don't know, maybe it'll backfire, but the jury, Heather, you're right. He is just in every, like, if I'm Ann Taylor, I'm making motions to say, can you please refrain from acting like, you know, what we're doing here is just so out of left field. Like, you're looking at us like we all have 9 heads. So you better look that way the whole time, not just when the defense is up. Or I just think it's fucking crazy. So I don't know. But this is wild. These 4 people. But I don't believe anything that Hitler writes. So I would have to see for myself what Ann Taylor filed and then hear the argument. But I find it hard to believe that Ann Taylor went in there waving the fucking flag and saying, I concede. I know that we didn't meet our burden, but I'm just wondering, can you give me some leeway to robustly cross-examine these people? I think there's going to be hella objections to relevancy, and he's just going to be like, yeah, they move up the chain. I think B and D knew they potentially move up the chain. Objection, relevance. Yep. The jury's going to be lost. The jury's going to be, it's going to confuse the jury. It's going to confuse the jury for us to say that these victims you're going to hear from experts and saying that these victims were not killed by the same weapon. There was multiple people. And what? And that there's what? I mean, out of the 3 groups, in your opinion, which holds the most weight? School, the money. I think it's hilarious how they're talking about hearsay. Dylan and Bethany's fucking whole testimony is hearsay. I like, Crystal, that's what I would say. I think Ann Taylor is saying that the crime did not happen at the time that it happened. I think that's a huge part. I think she's definitely moving towards it being moved up. I think that I would love to know what number she saved in her phone at 3:51. I'm sure it's going to come out at trial. I mean, they can keep all of this stuff hush hush here for the next 2 months. But hey, guys, newsflash: nothing gets redacted in the courtroom. Okay, we may just not see, if you're not physically in the courtroom, you may not see the crime scene photos. You may not see, things that are too. But there is no, hey, we're gonna put this on a 10-minute delay while we're live streaming to the world, and we're gonna go through and bleep things out. So all this shit, it's gonna be over soon, to the point that there is no more redactions. There is no more that you get to speak for me and I don't get to, no. These attorneys are going to go in there. Both sides are going to do their jobs. These witnesses are going to be called to the stand, and it's going to play out. And just thank God that it's going to be televised. Because if this was not televised, it's another Delphi situation. And it should be. Delphi should have been televised. This is ridiculous. I mean, but even in the Delphi filings, this wasn't what it was. I mean, this is Hitler's order. Hitler's order has footers like you wouldn't believe. And his footers, I mean, he redacted almost 2 pages, probably the length of 1.5, because I mean the footers are really small, but he's loading them up. And I just can't believe that Ann Taylor would ever submit something that is totally, entirely irrelevant. I mean, for Hitler to say that this is irrelevant, I could see him saying that Dylan saving a contact at 3:51 is irrelevant. What does that have anything to do with anything? And we're over here like, what the fuck are you talking about, dude? She said she went to bed at 3:20. She told the police a bunch of shit that's not true. Like, why are you playing dumb? Like, you couldn't have gotten in that spot where you're sitting by being a fucking smart ass dumbass, okay? And he's just a smart ass. He's like your dad's friend that you fucking, like, you love that friend of yours, and you're just like, God, you have such a prick for a father, though. He reminds me of that fucker that was on, what was that show? That movie. It'll come to me. I'd always tell my friends, I was like, yeah, you can come over to my house. Like, I'm not fucking hanging out at your fucking house with your prick dad. Just a sarcastic, like, smug dick. Yeah, I'm good on that. You can't show evidence that Ellie what? You can't show evidence that Ellie reg? That Ellie's on the rag? What? It's just wild. No one wakes up to add a phone call. She never went to bed. She never went to bed. It's like, it's got to be BK and nobody else. I mean, I think she meant rigged and can't show evidence that Ellie refused to collect. Yes. Yeah, that's her argument, actually. Or, like, and he's over here saying, you can ask the officers why they didn't go and do this and why they didn't go and do that. There's just, if we think about it, for as much as people think that, oh, a ton of information is out there. No, the only information that's out there is shit that was false from the PCA and shit that is highly prejudicial to the defendant. I mean, name me one thing that's come out bad about any of these victims. Not a single thing. I don't see anybody bashing any of the victims, right? Nobody should be. But I'm saying that there's nothing leaked out of Maddie's phone or Kaylee's phone or Xana's phone or I mean, I think the only person, when anybody wants to say, and I don't consider it talking bad either, Dave came out and broke his silence about this whole 911 call, and that everybody knew. Remember this? I mean, do I need a news flash for everybody? Dave said everybody knew way before the cops did about the homicides. It was all in Snapchat. So now let's talk about Dylan and Bethany supposedly not knowing about this until right when they called 911. That's going to get blown up in trial. That's why I'm just over here thinking to myself, there's just no way that Ann Taylor is not somehow incorporating the roommates to the point of this, that they know something, but they're protecting, not that they did anything, but oh my God, like I'm not going to tell on people that I know or, so we'll just see how it all plays out. But Hippler says the show goes on, which I'm happy about. It gets delayed by, I think, a week. And allegedly, supposedly, they're going to start with opening statements on the 18th of August. I think Ann Taylor's going to have a lot. She just has to be vocal about it. Their team just has to be vocal about it and just saying and requesting more time that but I think he's going to agree to that. I mean, his way that he was picking this jury didn't give enough. We had no time to vet anybody. We'll see if Anne's ready. I mean, I think Anne's not dumb. I think some of her motions were to see if she can get some of the hands played. But Hippler saying that you have every exhibit that the prosecution is going to use, I would hold Hippler to that and say, if that comes out to not be true here down the road at trial. I mean, Hippler likes to yappity yap. Somebody has to be on it to know these orders that he placed and what he was saying and what these, the state was claiming in motions and affidavits and declarations. And you need to be on it, because if they tried to claim something else here at trial, you can most certainly use that. Same thing with, like, I just can't wait to see what this little jury instruction with how they got to Brian Colbert or what they all agreed on. And I think maybe Anne and her team were like, listen, we cannot have Hippler making this decision. So what do we got? Yeah. Heather, the state is changing experts and Hippler does nothing. Yeah, Idaho, wait. I mean, we got some good stuff coming over this coming weekend and then stretching into the next. You guys, there's massive amounts of hours of a huge drug bust, a missing person, and what was the other one? Oh, and then that white sedan. So we got some interesting stuff coming out here this coming week. It's typical Idaho, though. You'd have to go through every single interview. If you go through every single interview, things from those interviews would lead you, or so you when you would hear it. Oh, hey, it's the same people that did the Dan Moore case. It was right in front of their faces that Eldora had two vehicles there, one that her niece fucking drove and one that she drove. How the fuck do you miss that? You can either say it's purposely or that they're fucking incompetent. And I think it's a mix of both. And I just hope that I think some stuff's going to come out. At the end of the day, guys, our rights need to be upheld, and the person or people that are responsible. And if it's Brian, he needs to fucking never see the light of day. I'm not one for the death penalty. I think that that's on God. He picks when your last day is, but We'll see. I also think that this case has a lot of I mean, I think that appeals written all over it, regardless of I think he's innocent or guilty, or regardless if they prove that he's, um, not guilty or guilty. I think that this case is going to be around for a long time. So, um, that sucks for the families. That truly does. Absolutely fucking sucks for them. Absolutely sucks. But yeah, identifying 4 individuals as potential alternative perpetrators. So we can play a little name game if you want. I told you guys tonight I was going to give you some of my undivided attention, where I wanted to include the live chatters. And so this on a day when I'm bored and have nothing to do with you guys, I can go through this other motion. It's boring. It's boring. The only good parts are at the end about why not to continue. And he just basically brushes over the fact that the defense was right and that we need way more time for the jury selection, which is voidar. And so he just brushes over that and makes it seem like, yeah, the court has already changed its scheduling order. Yeah, you fucking changed it because the defense fucking made a motion about it. There's never going to be anything where it's like, granted. So I think that the change of venue was needed because of the sus fucking people that are around that area of Moscow. It's fucking a dump. It's an absolute dump. And I know some people that live there. You guys aren't fucking dumps, but you know exactly what I'm talking about because we talk about it. There is no fucking way in hell you can get one of them dumps on your fucking jury and be Ashley Jennings and Bill Thompson's little bitches. Okay. So with that said, you had to move it, but I wish the judge would have fucking went with him just for the mere I got to cover this for 3 months. And if I have to look at Hitler the whole fucking time, like, God, like, that's a lot. I'd rather look at pretty boy Judge, who at least is charming and at least will, not be rude. And the criminal justice process deserves better than the way that Hitler is behaving. So, God, you know what I mean? Like, fucking A. To think that everybody out there is gonna tune into the Idaho4 case. It's not, hasn't been really following it, but I want to follow that. I remember that back in the day. And then they're gonna fucking see him every day. Ugh. Shoot me. Like, sucks. I don't think that they're regretting the change of venue, guys, because they needed different human beings. And you're going to get that in Boise. You're not getting that you're not getting that in Latah County. Okay? You're just not. I've been there. You're just not. All right? Sorry, but Idaho's a dumpster fire. It's just flat out a dumpster fire. So, 4 perpetrators. How many people out there think that all 4 are boys? Let's start with that. All boys / men. What do you guys think? I'm not sold on that yet. Hitler is hard on the eyes. We'll leave that up there. Yeah, he's being unprofessional, patronizing, and condescending. Yeah. Will it ever be released? I think it'll come out, but basically by how the trial is going. I'm gonna have to slow this down so I can follow this. Um, what do we think? How many people think by the way that Hitler responded that he's trying to? I mean, is he trying to make it seem like that the roommates aren't part of the four? Well, how about this? Would the roommates be part of your four, or is it like there's four people and we're not even including the roommates because they're just accessories? What do you think? I mean, Hitler really throws me off with the whole. Um, I told you guys the presence. The presence. I was like, oh damn. Well, that's interesting. That there's no way that the defendant is providing that there was a presence. It was right here. There you go. Presence at the crime scene. So many questions. The death penalty should be taken off. Interesting way to think about it. Listening to that 911 call, they are going to be screens. I don't think the roommates are included in the four Hitler is referring to. Dave B, Dave L, Dylan, and Bethany. I don't know. What are the odds of 4chan playing any role in this? The thing about hearsay had me thinking about them. I want to talk about, you know, I want to know how much Ann Taylor knows about anything to do with Molly and this whole door dashing situation. I mean, they would have had to have looked into this, right? Like the loopholes within door dashing. Then we have Dave, who's like, listen, you could, if you wanted to get something, yeah, you could get something over there. You know, they were not like that's their like careers, but you know, so I started thinking about Dave and our talks, and it's like, well, wouldn't those tweakers go over there and be like, hey, do you have anything that I could get? I mean, I don't know. Um, Sherlock Holmes, what's good, girl or boy? Don't know. Hitler knows he can't deny extra time outright because it will look bad on appeal. So he grants an extra week, like that's going to help. I I think it's crazy how he says, "Well, the killer was driving a white, a white Elantra, and none of those people have a white Elantra, so this is just bullshit." Then I think in the back of my head, I'm like, why would Ann Taylor ever show her hand if she knew her hand didn't suffice? I was like, that doesn't make much sense unless she was trying to do something else with it, which is strategic. So, did she mention people that possibly weren't, just to see how the state would respond to certain things? I don't know. I don't think Ann Taylor's a moron. I think Ann Taylor, she worked for Bill Thompson. She learned basically underneath him. She knows Bill Thompson. That means you like Ashley Jennings. She knows her boss's game. You know, like you know their work habits. You know what they do. And once somebody gets in like their own patterns or develops their routines, you know how hard it is to break somebody of that. So I gotta think that Anne's given weight and thought into the prosecutors over there, usually dealing with, you know, hey, go down and talk to so and so and so and so, hear what's going on in the streets, blah blah blah. Like that's what they would do. And then come to find out, oh my God, the DoorDash driver is my good friend Molly motherfucking McMichaels. Oh, come here, Molly. Let's talk off the record over here. Go for a little walk with me and Molly over here. You know, have you ever known Bill to do anything fucking shady like that? And if so, then I'd be like, yeah, dude, we need to fucking look into this whole situation with this DoorDash crap. I think it's weird that at 4 a.m., you know, the meth mobile arrives with food and then everybody's dead. I'm friend Bill Thompson, look out. And Molly's just a fucking shitty ass driver. Like, can't believe she wouldn't have gotten pulled over that night. Driving around like a padiddle. She's always getting pulled over. Molly, what the fuck, girl? Does that make you laugh? The meth mobile driving through. Look out, guys! Here I am. It's made me think twice about ordering DoorDash because I don't want no people. I mean, jeez. I just had to laugh a little bit. Bubbly Waters, what's good, girl? How are ya? Hitler looks like Count Dracula on Sesame Street. He looks like something, man. You know, I don't care about people's looks. Okay, I care about people and how they are as humans, man. He called fucking Syrie a goddamn conspiracy theorist, okay? That's fucking insanity. Speaking of which, Nick Ballance. Guys, Syrie called it. Syrie said that no, they're definitely, trained and they know what they're doing. Basically, what does Easter come out and say? He trained Nick Ballance. You guys, that doesn't mean shit. Okay? What that means is that yeah, the FBI knows how to do their shit, right? But if Moscow Police Department is just okay, well, I'm going to write up this probable cause and just ignore what the feds actually provided them with. I mean, what did the feds look away? Did the feds not know that, but Syrie called that shit. Syrie said, no, they're definitely trained and they're good. And the person, I'm sure he knows who Easter is. Especially if he's like their cast dude. Which before he was retired, he was. Now he's training, after being retired, he's training people to be expert witnesses on the stand. But that doesn't mean, in my humble opinion, that just because you got trained by the best doesn't mean that you did in this situation what you were trained to do. So there's, and I saw it. I could play the clips or whatever, but Easter wanted no part of talking about the nuts and bolts of the Idaho. Plus, he can't. I mean, but I don't think he was really involved. He's not on any of the expert. He's not on any of the expert witness lists that we've seen. That would have been disclosed. That would have been part of Ann Taylor's like motions, and his name never came up. He trained Nick Ballance. That's it. Sorry, it's just facts. We'll see. And remember, Nick Ballance wants to keep his, I don't know, face off the screen, and I don't think Hitler's going to allow it. I don't think any of these people are going to allow it. Heather says, I couldn't believe when Easter said he shouldn't be allowed to bolster state witnesses before trial and basically say BK is fucked. Yeah, and BK's fucked though, because your boys over there, Easter, they're not being honest. So, I mean, we'll see how it, maybe he was thinking when he was answering, could he have at all got the case confused with the Daybell case? Because yeah, they were fucked. I mean, any chance with that? Yeah, he was highly involved in Idaho. Are we sure that it was the Idaho 4 case and not the Daybell case? Was he understanding that? Well, if he was highly involved, then he was highly, we'll see. I find it highly unbelievable that Syray would be submitting affidavits the way that he did and just being like, hey, let me just shoot my fucking head off in my whole career and write all this bullshit. You know, he has no reason to. Like, why? Nobody's going to jump off a bridge. He said quad homs. He did say quad homicide. Well, then I think that that really points the finger at Moscow Police Department. That, or like Syray's gonna show, Cass has been doing some fucked up shit for a long time, and it's all gonna come out. So that's where my money is. He did say BK in Idaho 4. Yeah, well, the cast proves that in the Dan Moore case, that the cameras that are all in that area have to be off by 7.5 to 8 minutes. Which, so if you go by cast, the white truck 100% can't be Dan Moore's, because of where he was located when he had a call to his wife. You would have to throw out cast and just go by the surveillance cameras, which then fucks you because all you have to do is bring in cast and then it fucks your surveillance cameras. So it's very, very interesting. And I believe that's the reason Dan Moore will never be arrested for that crime. Not to mention a bunch of other things, but no one's testifying. That's worth a damn. I don't know why everyone's having such a fucking hissy fit over the AT&T timing advance records. Like, if everything's just so on the up and up, why would the state need to attempt to put a motion limiting about the timing advance? Nobody can talk about timing advance. Do you hear me? How strange is that? You know? So it's gonna be, I think it's gonna be wild. It's gonna be the wildest case. It's gonna be 100 times wilder than Karen Reed, and Karen Reed's pretty fucking wild. And the characters that are going to be involved in this case, and people that are testifying, get a bunch of notebooks. Get a bunch of notebooks. I mean, how does this case take 3 months? Think about that. I mean, we thought it was a lot of days, 30, 34, 36 days for Karen Reed. Okay. 3 months. 3 months. Why would the state need so much time to present their case? Why are you going to be calling 11 CSI, like crime scene lab scientists, either 2, 3, there's 11 people are going to be called to that stand at the very least that are from the Idaho State Police Crime Lab. They had 11 people working on this case and are involved in reports. 41 reports that are about to do with the lab. 11 people over 41 points. 41 reports. And that has nothing to do with Othram. But that's supposedly not coming in. Yeah. I'm interested about the ballistics expert for the defense. Fucking A. All I know is in Delphi, they told us that the reason they only have one person that ever does the lab work per case is for so that you do not have cross contamination issues, and that it's they would never do that. That is against their protocol. They only have one person. So it's crazy to see the different ways that people work their cases. We get to hear from a butt. She's going to take the stand. Who's going to be our leadoff witness in the case? You know, who's the state going to get up there with? Who's going to lead it off? The 911 dispatch. There's no way you're leading it off with Dylan or Bethany. I just can't imagine. But maybe they will. Maybe it'll be like the bar owner at what was it? The grub truck guy, the party driver. I mean, how are you if you're a prosecutor? How are you trying your case? Think about that. God. They need every ounce of Josh Hurwitz because could you imagine Ashley Jennings and Bill Thompson putting together this case and how they would go and attack it? Ooh. Kate says, "Come on down, Scott Green. Let's talk about your book." I think it's going to come down to, is the FBI going to back Moscow Police Department, or is the FBI going to back their actual like work and not, you know, when they testified. And so it'll be interesting. That's what I think. I mean, the entire PCA is absolute fucking crap. It's not, it's absolute dog shit. And all those people involved had no problem with it being absolute dog shit. That should tell you the type of caliber of human beings that we have looking forward to being on the stand for the truth, being under oath. So, Michael Clayton, Yuri 5 Truth and Transparency memberships. Cheers. Crystal did 5, so 10 of you guys turned green, little aliens out there. Look out. Michael Clayton, there's the one I wanted to grab. Thank you. Truth and Transparency. Yellow, orange, and blue. Why'd you pick those colors? I'm just curious. Those are your favorite. Cece, welcome. Cheers. Detective Mowry's in the house. He wants to say, Agent Ballance, did you make this slap dick horseshoe map on PowerPoint? They will back MPD. That is why they are testifying. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I just can't wait till they're gonna have to admit on the stand that, dude, the vehicle that they are saying, like Hitler's over here jerking off to this white sedan. This white sedan was identified on Ridge Road one time. And wait till you guys see what we're bringing to the table this week. Okay, wait till you fucking see it, because we have proof. It's undeniable, 100% proof that shows that these motherfuckers steal cars and shit. Okay, so I don't give a fuck what car Molly was in one day or da-da-da. These people steal cars in that town. These people go missing. The shit that's it matters what you had access to. Who gives a shit? If someone didn't own certain things, these people don't need to own anything. Wait till you see what these people do. It's like 5 to 8, 9 hours worth of shit we're bringing. Hide their kids, hide your wife, act like you were sick for the next, um, this was such a large, this is the most I've ever got. They had to fucking charge me a pretty penny for everything that I wanted because Bill Thompson and Ashley Jennings were called. So good. And now we're trying to figure out, were they called because of the search warrant or they called because these people were being represented by, they say it's for search warrants. We'll see. It's going to be pretty interesting. Yeah, so I spent my lunch money. I blew my wad of my lunch money on Moscow Police Department. They better not fucking disappoint. We had a bargain. I actually really, really like their staff. They're fucking awesome, the staff is. So I did. Shot my wad. I gotta order like fucking Subway tomorrow. Yeah. I'm also though a happy camper that the trial is happening when it is. Like I said, that was for personal reasons. I want it to happen when it's happening. Canceling and an Airbnb and then redoing it, and it's no fun. Lana, does Ann Taylor have the names of all of the state's experts? Yep. Nothing can be a secret. I got my shirt that says Bill Thompson is my friend. I wonder if they'll let me in the courtroom with that. Miss Oriani, we're going to need you to turn that inside out. What inside out? Oh, this shirt? Oh my God. I didn't even realize I was wearing it. It's my favorite. I'm sorry. Let me just go get my. It's fine. I can just go change, Mr. Bailiff. I'll just go change for you. Do you have a preference of color of shirt I should wear? I am friends. Fucking friends with Bill Thompson. After she gets a ticket. Oh, shit, girl. Oh my God, good. Then we're doing some lives together. We're driving around the town together. If JLR does not let me on his car for us to do some lives, I'm gonna be one pissed bitch. That's all I gotta say. JLR, we are gonna be riding in the car together. Hopefully there's a stormy day, and then we can report in the car. Magnolia can be with us. I want to drive around. So what else? What else is good in the hood? I think Matt Moye moves up in my rankings of who potential a one of four. Matt Moye, come on down. If you know, you know. Who dat? Who dat? Who dat? Well, we have to think if Anne thinks that the perpetrators were on foot, right? They would have had to stay away from the 112 King road camera. And so, what better way than to walk out the back and straight across and just walk right into your house back there? So, I'm just trying to figure out in my head where Aunt Taylor could have been going with the four perpetrators. And on foot, you're staying away from the Linda Lane cameras, and you're staying away from 1112, which means your only point is towards the frats down that little stairwell. Okay. Or it's directly behind. And that would be way. So, Lana, are you going to insult Brian Etten outside the courthouse? Why would I insult him? I don't think there'd be a reason to. I would think I would just remind him that him and Ashley Banfield keep it on topic. Keep it on topic. Oh, Lana, I fell asleep listening to you talk and had a long, crazy dream with you and it talking the whole time. God. Hopefully it involved way more than talking. Craft your way to peace. Nice. Thank you for becoming a member. This case is very sad. Oh, Linda. Hey, sorry about that. Thank you for your $2, Linda Walling. Nice. MSM is YouTube. Why do you think the prosecution is making such an effort to hide their gun expert? There was a gun used, in my opinion, KG. They can't pin a gun on BK. Well, now, wouldn't that just blow a fucking gasket? I don't know. I'm really enjoying your chill vibe today, Lana. Thank you. The many faces. I don't know. About the guns, about the experts. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe there's a magic bullet there at the scene that fell out. I'm asking if Lana changed her Airbnb. I could not give that information out. I cannot give that information out. I got crazy people following me. Mark G says, carload of French fries. All right. Tell Sevens more about Matt Moyer, please. Oh, he's in the house behind. I have a ton of episodes, I think, on Matt Moyer. Lana, you should walk past News Nation filming in your Bill Thompson t-shirt. Oh, I'm sure there'll be times for that. There'll be probably a lot of times for that. Let's see. What's the update on the bloody butt print? Funny you should ask, Detective Mowry. Thought you would have that information. I'm just waiting to see what happens with these closed hearings coming up. Could that be about the gun evidence? I still think that I don't care regardless on who the alternative perpetrators are. It doesn't make any sense with Dylan and Bethany. That still doesn't, explain why they were lying about when they went to sleep, for Dylan's sake or whatever, and that why they would ever think to not, I don't know, call 911 for all that time or not go upstairs or not check on the roommates, or why Bethany didn't call any of the roommates after, Dylan came downstairs into her bedroom, supposedly, allegedly, but she doesn't text them, doesn't call them. I don't know why Bethany was calling her mom in the morning and then her dad, or rather her dad, pulling up her family if there was nothing wrong. I don't know who sits in the house. I mean, the only reason I would stay in a house is if I had to get somebody or get something, and then I would make my run for it. But I just can't believe that they didn't call other friends. And the only reason you wouldn't call other people is if other people were there. There's no reason to call people because they were already there. And then you got the Venmos at 3:30. I mean, it's just a fucked up case. I just think there's hella fucking reasonable doubt because it's like, I just don't think that I think this investigation sucked. I think this investigation yielded nothing. And how does it yield nothing? And they're going to say, well, because he's the one that did it. And I just think it's like, no, you guys just didn't do anything. You guys just, did you even consider that that the victim's phone stopped, doing anything at 2:26 or 2:54, and that could be because they were, I don't know, dead? I just want to hear that answer. And the answer has to be, yeah, we had to consider that. I mean, the SIM cards that Easter were talking about, for the record, whoever wrote that, you're talking about the SIM cards in cars. That wasn't in Brian's car, but I believe, wasn't he talking about the SIM card that, what's his name, destroyed? Higgins. He went to the military base, Anne said it would take 3 years for experts to go through cell phone data. They ran out of time. Yeah, and then the question though lies is, I side with Hitler here. Why didn't you hire more people to go through stuff? And so, I mean, what's her name? Karen Reed went out and got a bunch of interns. So if you don't trust the people that work for, go get a bunch of interns. Or maybe we just need to, you guys do know that Ann Taylor, there was a girl that was on trial for murdering her boyfriend's little girl. She was acquitted in a small town in Idaho. Ann Taylor was her attorney. I tried to get all the information on it, and they fucking sealed that goddamn case on me. And they sealed it right before I saw, like, well, there was issues with custody stuff that was in a different case, but I just think that we need to maybe just give a teeny bit of, if Cyray is also an investigator in this case and not just a phone guy, then I think everybody needs to just, whoa, chill. I don't think she's a dummy. And I think it's, the evidence is the evidence. But if Hitler, if we see that Hitler is just like, whoa, like getting Alan Jackson by Bev and 49 objections and 49, sustained. I mean, we'll call the balls and strikes over here. But it's going to be what it is. You guys can all tell when we'll call it out. The people that aren't going to call it out, you think mainstream media is going to call out that a defendant's getting fucking hosed? No. So don't plan to hear from them. That's not true. They gave them a full fucking go. I don't not this case. Richard Allen's case, absolutely. Richard Allen did not have anything. She's had full go. She's had full stockage and these experts from day one. And Sarah's just doing her job with that. Like, um, her and her team believe fully in Brian's innocence. This man's life is in your hands. You're going to do and try everything to give yourself as much time as possible for whatever reason. Um, it's also her job, but I think that we'll see at trial. We'll see at trial. We'll see if Ann Taylor starts running out of time or um, Hitler wanted her to be more specific with her with why she's asking for stuff. The mitigating stuff for me, I want you focusing on my phase of the guilt phase. I don't even give a fuck about mitigating at that point. Like if I'm found guilty, so let's just they had a whole mitigating team. They've had them for 2.5 years. Um, I'd want my team focusing on the guilt phase. So you have to have mitigating. No shit. She does. She's had mitigating experts for 2.5 years. They've done a lot of shit. I read the documents. I'm not concerned about that. Ann Taylor ran out of time. Ann Taylor is doing her job with, you know, I don't appreciate the whole asking and saying at the 11th hour that Ann Taylor is somehow showing that she doesn't have gamesmanship. I think that that is absolutely ridiculous for Hitler to write, and that this was a tactic. The fuck out of here. Ann Taylor is making the state has hid shit since day one. The state lied to arrest this man. Okay. Ann Taylor is dealing with a corrupt fucking situation, in my opinion. Regardless if he's guilty or innocent, it's the system, it's the process, and that man was not arrested. Okay, that man was arrested illegally. That man was not arrested on fucking a probable cause affidavit for his arrest that was worth the fucking paper that was written on. Period. Their expert died. One of them died. One of them died a while ago. And I don't know if he officially died or if he was super sick. That was a while ago. They're good. Heather, they're good. They're good. They're good. They're good. We got this. They're good. The state's fucking been lying. These witnesses, we'll find out if they're lying or not. These experts, though, with the FBI and, you know, who's ever claiming the shit, who's ever writing the shit in motions and claiming shit, and you go back and you read those motions, and they're really interesting the way that they're crafted and tailored, and it's just somebody fucked up somewhere, and I believe that then they tried to make it right by the family and saying that we're not going to let the guy go who really did this, even though fucking A, he did every way to cover his tracks so that he really shouldn't be arrested right now, but we're going to arrest him. Okay. And then so you have to ask yourself, if that truly is the case, a lot of people will say, I'll have friends that say, well, don't you think that, the means justifies blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, no, to me, it doesn't, because I've seen what innocent people that's done to innocent people. Like, and what that means is that, hey, the FBI or somebody in that department can fucking follow that motherfucker for the rest of his life and to make sure that he doesn't fucking hurt anybody or catch him on something else. But you cannot fucking fuck the system. I don't believe that. No. But other people will tell you that absolutely, dude, this guy's gonna go kill again. You want him to fucking come after you or come after your kids. And I'm just like, well, then why can't you, if you're gonna be like, Get the evidence. People have been using the IGG all the fucking time now. Put it in your goddamn warrant. No, we couldn't do that. So then you fucking did something up because I've seen warrants with it. So get fucked. So that's my take, though. You can't. We have all of this where it needs to be for a reason in our criminal justice system, and you can't just lie to get search warrants and lie to get, arrest warrants, and then when you get called out on it, then get protected. So Aunt Taylor's not my problem. Not the worry here. It's the person that's going to be calling the balls and strikes, who's Hippler. And so we'll see. But Brian, just like anybody else, is presumed innocent at this channel until they are proven guilty. And right now, they have a sheath that has touch DNA as far as I'm concerned. And I was expecting a lot more by them saying he's the one, by this type of crime scene, and the car being supposedly, his mode of transportation. And after talking to Scott Roeder a bunch about it, he said the bigger thing is that there wasn't a sign of a cleanup. He's like, that car would have been like, there would have been one or the other, and it didn't have any of that. And then his apartment, and then he doesn't have any traces to the victims. And then it's like, okay, now we have to go into the whole, what I would say if I came to the table with what they came to the table with, you guys would call me a conspiracy theorist. Like, oh my God, he's wearing a hoodie. Oh my God, he looks like Ted Bundy. Oh my God, he Googled Ted Bundy's name. Oh my God, he was peeing off of towers. It's right by their house, and he was stalking them. What? Like, if I was to say this shit, like, how do you explain the sheet that has his DNA on it and blah, blah, blah? Well, I think I explained that the other night with the UC Davis. They did the experiment, and it 100% looks like it's more secondary transfer. But then I would love to know how long it would stay on there. Then we're going through Amazon account records to try to get this guy and off of something that he purchased off of Amazon. What are the odds that he would ever have, that from Amazon? I'm like, well, I don't know how many were ever fucking sold. I don't know. Do people normally have the knives and shit? I don't fucking know. Does everybody have but it has his DNA on it. But then if that's the only thing, then I would struggle with, why is that there? Is it there because he committed the crimes, or is it there because of some other reason? And that's actually on the state to prove, not on the defendant. And I would like to think that if Karen Reed's taillight can be all over the grass, and the jury said not guilty, then that by default, you believe that would have been planted. But there's to get to that point because they didn't believe that the car hit John. Yeah, but at the end of the day, somebody got in that courtroom and showed you that they put together the taillight pieces and that it fit Karen Reed's. And if that's not how it was and it didn't get cracked there, then how did it get there? And that means that somebody planted it. So the jurors do. And I think that if I was Ann Taylor, I would watch and possibly even call Karen Reed's team up and ask them if they had any advice on how to present that to a jury. In a situation like what they're facing. And I would not be too proud to call and consult with somebody about experiences that they just had with something that's very similar, that if you believe that your client is being set up or framed somehow, um, or that, fuck, how did that get there, and how does his DNA on there? I mean, that's what I would be doing. All right. Karen Reed had the whole entire world on her side. Well, I wouldn't go that far. John DePP has something else to say about that. Um, Karen Reed was up against, though, if I could say the whole world on her side, she was up against the most corruption I've ever personally witnessed in my whole entire life. Is to see that it's so blatantly obvious, and yet the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office didn't back down and was like, "We're still taking this forward," you know. And then you're going to have a prosecutor come on here, and he's going to then act like a sweatshirt, has holes in it because of John being run over by a car. But really, it was because that criminologist went ahead and cut up that sweatshirt to go ahead and take samples. I mean, and he knew that. I mean, that is just wild. I mm. And all the free Karen readers are out there saying how guilty BK is. Now that is some fucking that's what does. And I'll tell them that all the time. I'm like, if y'all want me to believe that Karen Reed is innocent, okay, even though that would require a hell of a lot of cops involved in this cover up, right, and her planting of the taillight. I said, which I could totally get down and believe. Then I want to know why somebody like Brian Colbert wouldn't get the same consideration. And I said, the only answer that you have here is either you're biased against a guy versus a woman, or you don't, or you haven't read the case. Because 100% that probable cause affidavit is 100% bullshit. And so that would mean that this person isn't getting a fair shake, which is what Karen Reed was, going through. And people will say, well, Karen Reed's innocent. Fuck, I'll tell you what's pretty convincing is that text stream data. Thank God Karen Reed fucking hit John O'Keefe's car. People could say a lot of different things. Thank God that the prosecutors are so stupid to bring in fucking Aperture to fucking dress up as Smurfs in the trial. I mean, John's phone data is really compelling. That something happened to him right then and there. Think about it. Karen Reed did not call a digital expert, phone expert. Pretty crazy. So I just look at it as if you have principles or philosophies or value, I mean, whatever your thing is, how it's not that way across the board to me. Like Diddy, he's innocent, so proven guilty. Okay. We watched him beat the living fuck out of Cassie. How many of y'all saw that on video? Okay. Yeah, he did that. Okay. There was numerous lawsuits put out with pictures in multiple situations that I've read with P. Diddy and his shit. Do I think that law enforcement is framing P. Diddy? No, I think law enforcement's been protecting P. Diddy. Okay. But hey, Diddy's getting his day in court, and guess what? We didn't get to see it because it was at the federal level. I think Diddy's guilty after everything that's come out. Guilty. Now, guilty of what? I'd have to look at the charges, but he's not. I mean, he's not getting charged with beating the fuck out of Cassie. He's being charged with X, Y, and Z. I know that the Diddy team didn't even put on a defense. They just rested after the prosecution rested. Let's talk about Sandra Birchmore. Matthew Farwell, he's innocent until proven guilty. Do you want to know how compelling that probable cause compared to Brian Kober's? Like, I wish we had Brian Kober walking in and out with a mask on like that in this case. They don't have that. I mean, her phone never moves again after that piece of shit comes down from the her room. She had clothes in the washer dryer. She had a broken necklace on the ground in her room. Obviously, all those text messages. Yeah. He was grooming her and banging her since she was 15. Solid. She's basically making him be the baby daddy and play that role and have his last name or hers. And but you know what the cops did that were the state police troopers? They buried that shit. They buried that shit. God bless the people that fought for Sandra Birchmore and gave her a voice after she left. Cops did that. Cops from Massachusetts State Police, Canton. So to sit here and say that you want to look at the Idaho's, you guys, the Idaho people buried the Drake case and wanted to yep, here we're gonna pin it on this chiropractor who is very well off in the community and has never so much as had a parking ticket his entire life. Idaho is no different than the Massachusetts State Police and Canton Police Department. I've witnessed it. I have the discoveries on other cases. So, but for someone to come over and be like, oh, Brian Hilberg's so guilty and they're coming from those camps, then I call you a hypocrite because it doesn't make sense. And when you want to talk about the Brian Kohlberg case, let's talk about facts. And if you just keep it to the straight facts, that person should be scratching their heads and say, yeah, I'm really curious to see what is showed here at trial and what they're really going to be relying on, because clearly how they truly got to this person, they're not even going to be able to show in a courtroom. So what is this jury who's supposedly supposed to know nothing about this case? How are they going to say and go into a room and be like, yeah, I'm totally convinced that Brian Kohlberg is the one? Ask yourself that. That's why I'm not too concerned, because evidence is evidence. Like, it's can't go making it up, right? The state can't be coming through here in the 11th hour and saying, oh my God, we found a new piece. Here we go. Here's Brian. He's walking into the house. Here's camera. Like, we pretty much, like, we know what's coming. I'm just curious to see how, if you follow the rules of reasonable doubt, I think Ann Taylor can make reasonable doubt. But do I believe though that he's innocent? I could still vote not guilty because, listen, it's not proven beyond a reasonable doubt for me. But it doesn't mean that I'm out here like how every juror was asking the Karen Reed case. Well, is she innocent or is she not guilty? So they were asking, that's what the media was talking. And the media had the balls to ask these jurors, well, so who do you think did it then? It's like, I can't believe you're asking jurors that. I'd be like, why aren't you have the balls to ask me that, but you don't have the balls to ask the fucking the representative of the district attorney's office that? Like, take your camera and your microphone and shove it so far up your fucking ass. Okay? horrible question. And I just say, oh, when's the last time you asked anybody that, I don't know, had anything to do with this case, you know, and they're, oh, we believe that Karen, well, clearly Karen Reed by all the jurors, like unanimously, they're saying that not only is she not guilty, but that she's innocent. So then what are you guys going to do? Well, we're not going to do anything because those jurors are fucking morons. And she's really the one. And, but we're not going to, I mean, it is what it is. The O'Keefes aren't getting justice because that's the killer, just like the OJ case. You know, he's really the one. The jury got it wrong, and life moves on. Mainstream media and their questions just crack me up. So in this type of a case with Brian Kober, if you don't get me beyond a reasonable doubt, and I'm not supposed to know anything about this case, we'll see how I would feel at the end and what they show, and is there reasonable doubt? And if you destroy the investigation and say that there's all this shit that you didn't do, and you want me to convict off of some fucking Amazon click, and something that somebody purchased that, you know, so many people in America purchase, and a fucking ski mask that so many people, I mean, are you kidding me? Wow. And then you're going to show me that the girls didn't call 911 for 911. I mean, geez, there's just so much there that I don't know if I can convict on a sheath that is the only thing with some touch DNA. So I think it's going to come down to how I feel about that touch DNA with the people that are testifying, and how it could have gotten there and how long it would have been there. And is there any way to prove that the sheath that's there was actually an Amazon purchased knife, or was it one that you could have gotten in Walmart or any of those other stores that anybody that's looking for one could have potentially touched? That stuff would matter to me. No connection to any of these victims. When you want to talk about motive, when you want to talk about the same things that Hitler wants to tell Ann Taylor, you're not getting this in because of, well, I'm holding the state then the same standard, and well, this guy doesn't meet any of that. And then I find out, and I'm going to hear on the stand how his phone records really didn't put him where y'all said it he was at, and that's what you used to arrest him. That's what the jurors in the Karen Reed case heard about that investigation, and that's what turned them like, wait a second. Now, in the Brian Kober case, the lead investigator wasn't fired, but in the Brian Kober case, there should have been a Franks hearing, and there was not. So I don't know. That's where my head's at. My head's at reasonable doubt. And if these people don't know about the case and they're able to find an impartial jury, then I don't think it's as open and as closed as anybody thinks. But people that actually know about this case, I even think they know that. And I think that's why you're getting people leaking stuff. And I think that's why you're getting people saying things like, dude, we're the FBI. You think that we're going to let them off on a technicality? You mean the technicality that's our rights? Go fuck yourself. Because that's what they meant by that. A technicality means, well, we fucked him and like, he didn't. Okay. So I'm the type of person, if I would hear something like that, I wouldn't trust you. And therefore I wouldn't trust the investigation. There's no way I would convict somebody for the death penalty if I didn't trust an investigation. Not happening. Like P. Diddy, I'd find him guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. Richard Allen, I wouldn't have, because of the DNA at the scene and his DNA not being there. Hands down. Never get me to say anything different. I don't give a fuck if he was there. I don't give a fuck if any of that shit. Going off of the evidence, and I'm definitely not going off of him being put in jail, in a prison, prior to him having his day in court. Are you got people out of your minds? Bye. No, I'm not convicting anybody like that. I don't give a fuck if he said, I don't give a fuck what he said. I don't care if he said every single day that he killed those kids after being tortured. Not happening. Doesn't matter. Michael, thank you so much. Get Bella a coffee too. Oh, thank you. All right, you guys, that will close us out. 2 hours on the dot. Ooh, gotta rest up my voice. You guys all rock. Thank you so much. You can find the 2 documents here, and I'll go over them more in their entirety, but on the website. So go search your balls off. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate you, and deuces. Thank you, moderators.